Good morning. All right. Well, I'm riding a little solo today, and so a couple of we're gonna go through the little tour of what's going on today from a football standpoint. Um, as there's some really interesting things, so we're gonna get right to the NFL draft, and we'll pull up some film. But I thought was real interesting. First off, good morning on Monday. Like my new brick wall. Usually we're here with Lenny. For a long time. I had Derek, and now I'm back to solo. So, some bunch of sports stuff going on right now, and we'll start off with the NFL. Bunch of these pro days have been going on, and it's pretty crazy to see the different pro days and how it's going without having an NFL combine. It seems to be that without an NFL combine, they're still being able to evaluate all the athletes they need to evaluate just so simply by going to pro days. Now, that begs a question: is the NFL combine in the NFL's future? And if so, what role does it play? Because one of the interesting things that we'll see coming from the NFL draft is that if the players get picked, and we may not know this for a couple of years, but are highly successful without having that comparison on the same platform, then the NFL Combine may not have the value it once had. On the flip side of it, if it makes it harder to draft, and because of the fact you're not able to compare athletes side by side, especially the top players, in a lot of instances, does that make a difference? And it's pretty interesting to see with pro days how much of an impact this is going to make going forward, and how much of an impact on the pro days. So let's talk first of all two pro days that were a long time ago and vastly different. So if we're going to Trevor Lawrence's pro day, which happened early on, Trevor Lawrence's pro day, looked really good, and all these quarterback pro days look really good. And the quarterback pro days, in my opinion, just based off of from what I've seen, I don't see how not having a combine is an issue for the quarterbacks. From a quarterback standpoint, what I'd love to see is all of them going through the script, at the same time, and being able to evaluate them and having those metrics that you have with like catapult, measuring not just velocity of throw, but how fast they drop, all these different things, and being to incorporate that stuff into the NFL Combine. The more you see regular metrics where you can get the speed of an athlete, the speed of the ball, the velocity, the accuracy, the placement ratio of a quarterback, like those are stats that I want to see. Like, are they placed in the right place at each time? Is their pass behind the curve? And it's that kind of stuff. So I think those are important things on pro days that are really, really critical. And not yet evaluated it, because it's going to be important to know, our guys throwing in time. The other thing I always wonder is, why doesn't, so on a pro day, it's one thing at the NFL Combine, they just kind of throwing on air. That's one. I don't know how throwing on air at all has any impact as to what kind of a quarterback they're going to be. I just don't understand that part of it. So why don't they utilize different elements in the pro day to challenge the quarterbacks a little bit more? And I think that's something to me that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Zach Wilson went, and that's supposed to be the number 2 quarterback, and had a really good pro day. Again, the same thing, making all the throws. I've seen high school guys make the majority of the throws that so a lot of these pro guys can make without anybody rushing them or anything like that. So I think there has to be some level of component in order for get a better evaluation on quarterback. There has to be another level component to it that's going to be able to give quarterbacks a better way to evaluate quarterbacks in the long run. Because otherwise, what you're going to have it happen is I don't know how teams can afford or aren't demanding a situation where they get a more accurate measure. Throwing on air is so unlike anything, and it just doesn't put the quarterbacks in any situation to be able to compare them. I'd like to see the quarterbacks together and have them avoid late rushes, have them move out of the pocket, not on air because they're off on a time, but actually have someone force them to step up, force them to move, and then have receivers that have to get off a jam. You could let them go after they get off a jam. You could disrupt timing. You could put situations where quarterbacks have to throw within windows. There's no windows in these things. It's just a situation where the quarterback is now throwing on air and on his break. But what happens when they've got to move to the second person or third person? Like, I just don't see how we're doing that and being able to, can they sling it in there fast enough after that? It's really, really hard to evaluate it under the current stratosphere of doing it. So we'll pull up a little from Twitter. We'll pull up a little bit of stuff here that I was able to grab from just hang with me here real quick. Let's see, this is it. Okay, I think this is it. So let's watch Trevor Lawrence, and you'll see what I say. And so here's a good example. Just count off here: 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. Let's watch this again and see if this is realistic. Now, some of these guys, I remember Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl was avoiding all of the different rushes that were coming to him from Tampa Bay and extending the play. But let's count this again. Make a little scramble throw here. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Almost 5 seconds. Throw the ball. Excellent throw to the corner. Okay, no defender. So wherever he places it is fine. I don't know what that is supposed to tell me. You could probably got guys, all TikTok stars that can go and throw some of those throws. Okay, the multiple movement. I think that's an important skill set. I don't know how that's showing how well they avoid a live person, but there has to be more than just them on air. Now let's watch. Let's watch here and see if I've got it. Okay, good. We'll watch little Zach Wilson here. Just roll out, firing a ball 60 yards down the field. Let's see if we can get a clock on this here too. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. So there's Zach Wilson. Let's see if we can get a couple other clips. Again, gets his body in good position, firing a ball down the field. This because film is deceptive in two ways. So film is deceptive in two ways here. In two ways. Let me just stop the screen briefly. Film is deceptive in two ways. So if a team in most of their games is much better than the other team or has superior athletes or superior blocking to the other team, quarterback has a huge advantage by having extra protection. If a team plays in a system that gives them a leverage or an advantage, there can be a deception. Because the fact of the matter is that all the NFL systems, though adapting, BYU system is incredibly QB friendly, and he adapted really well. I mean, he went from being an okay quarterback to an exceptional quarterback in 1 year. I think that's a huge growth there. I think that's what makes him really, really interesting. But the level of competition is lower, right? So those windows are very, very different. So let's take a look. Let's see. Let's take a look at the top draft QBs. Top QBs of. Let's see. Let's do the last 10 years here. Every draft QB, every quarterback drafted. Okay. Let's see if we can pull this up here. Drafted. All right, we'll grab this. So the quarterbacks that worked out really well. Let's start with them. Russell Wilson was taken 75th overall, third round, Seattle Seahawks. So what does that tell you? He was in a good situation with Pete Carroll and enabled him the opportunity development. I think the number one thing that differentiates quarterbacks that are successful in the NFL versus not is the team they're on, the system that they're implemented to, and then the situation they have from a protection standpoint early in their career, which means they're still going to make mistakes throwing-wise, but allows them to develop, and they don't start to get blinders as a quarterback. They don't start to get a situation where they aren't adapting to the situation where the quarterback and the receivers and with the offensive line, he has the ability to have time to grow and develop, and adapt. Having the right situation, the right offensive line, okay, are two critical components. And that third critical component is the situation with the system. So now you have to have a system. You have to have this. The system has to be completely and purely adaptive to the quarterback's abilities. Okay. Number one, that's the first thing that has to be done if you draft a quarterback. The biggest mistake that is made is that they're adapting the quarterback to the system. If you do that in the NFL, if you continue to force play a quarterback into your system and not get a true assessment early on as to what their skills are and what they can do and can't do, and you have a very tight window in the NFL because they come into camp and everything's thrown in there and they've got to pick it up. If you don't adapt your system to your quarterback and their skill sets, then you're in a situation where your quarterback is not going to be as comfortable. If your quarterback is not as comfortable and doesn't have the mental capacity to adapt, then he's going to have a problem at the NFL, no matter what his talent level is. And there's many, many guys who can throw the ball. But what's going on between here and the ability to adapt? Now, the guys who can adapt to any system, if you have a guy like that, then you can run whatever system you want. But you're still adapting to your quarterback, because if your quarterback has a certain skill set, then he's still adapting. You're adapting to him, saying, hey, he's flexible to run whatever we need him to run. But most guys, even the guys that are the most brilliant quarterbacks, there's a certain set of skill sets that they have. You have to be able to use them, and you have to be able to leverage them, and you have to figure that out. If you don't figure that out, you're going to be in a situation where the quarterbacks don't have the same situation where they can really develop. And so first, Russell Wilson, number one, he has had a good offensive system that he's been a part of. He's with an excellent head coach, and he's in a situation where he can continue to grow and develop. And he's one of the better quarterbacks. He's probably the good example of someone getting picked up in a later round. Okay. Um, I see here they list Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr's done very well, not elite, but he was, I think, a second-round pick. He's been a starter the whole entire time. I think I would agree with that. Andy Dalton, second round, okay. That's an okay pick. I mean, he's done some good things. Kaepernick was not, I don't think was very good. He had 1 year and all the other nonsense surrounding him. Kirk Cousins, Michigan State, again, a guy who's taken in the fourth round, developed. I think someone who has done well, but again, is not an elite quarterback to win you championships. But he's been bounced around some situations, seems to have been able to adapt. Dak Prescott just got a big contract, has some injuries. The jury's still out. He was a fourth-round pick. So from a fourth-round pick standpoint, if you think of when he got him, they probably got a lot there from Dak Prescott for that. Nick Foles, third-round pick. I think, he's got the championship with him. I think he's done a decent job. Again, not an elite quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, sixth round, probably a steal there because how many years he's been able to play in the NFL. He should have been drafted higher, wasn't. Definitely had all the tools to be able to do that. Has been in the NFL, has been modestly successful, has had some good years. Probably a situation where he's been able to, has the ability to adapt to different systems, which has helped him along the way. Jimmy Garoppolo, okay so far, decent, not an elite quarterback yet. Could maybe be, I don't know. Mike Lennon, okay. So there are guys, those are mid-round guys that people would consider steals in the draft. So let's talk about the first-round guys that are early on. Okay, and this will show you. This is just an example of first-round guys and how difficult it can be to take those guys. So we'll go here real quick and I'll run it through for you guys. Okay. So we got Paxton Lynch, for lack of a better word, a bust. Josh Rosen obviously has not worked out. First round, Johnny Manziel has not worked out. Again, thrown right into the mix, Paxton Lynch. Didn't get a chance to develop. Bad situation. Josh Rosen, bad situation. Didn't get a chance to develop. Johnny Manziel probably brought a lot of it on himself. Not a great situation being number one pick there. Blaine Gabbert, bad situation. Had a couple of good years, but just went into a bad situation. Christian Ponder, I don't think went into a horrendous situation, but never kind of got there. Tim Tebow, they weren't going to give him a chance. It doesn't even make any sense. Actually played, I think, better than people thought. EJ Manuel was in a bad situation in Buffalo, showed signs, never got there. Josh Allen seems to be so far in a good situation and is developed and has unique skill sets with being able to run and pass. Okay. Jake Locker, don't even remember him. I think he was from Washington, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Must have been a bad situation. I don't remember. Brandon Weeden, Lamar Jackson, excellent situation. Adapted the system to him. He's in good shape. Blake Bortles had a couple of good seasons. Been in a lot of not so great situations. Sam Darnold, obviously in his most difficult situation as it could be, I think has played decently well. Mark Sanchez was in a good situation, started out pretty good. I would think he would be among the better of those. We talked about Blake Bortles. Teddy Bridgewater, not a bad situation he was in. He started out these situations, had some good stuff, injuries and other things. got the best of him. Robert Griffin, not a bad situation. Started out great. Didn't have a page 2 to his quarterback. Never panned out. I mean, we're going through like most of these guys haven't panned out. What is the reason why? Sam Bradford, I think, really, really had some numbers that were mind blowing. Always in a bad situation, always getting killed. Never has a line. Should have been there, just not to the point. Mitchell Trubisky started out in a bad situation, but coaching wise, decent situation. Management in the front office, decent situation, better with some line. He's jury's still out on him. Ryan Tannehill, as soon as he finally got into a good situation and they started to develop him, has played really, really well. Really, really well. Marcus Mariota started out and actually not a bad situation. They put him in some really good spots. I love Marcus Mariota. I think he's got to be in a better situation. They won't adapt to his skills. That's the biggest problem. They didn't adapt to his skill set. I don't understand that, why they don't adapt to skill. Jameis Winston, I never thought he was going to be, even though he dominated in college, I never thought he was being anything special, just because of his mindset. But supposedly he says Drew Brees helped him a lot with this year. We'll see how he does. Jury is still out. Carson Wentz, jury is still out. Good situation, did well. Soon as the situation was no longer good, struggled. They didn't continue to adapt to what he could do. Baker Mayfield, probably the most adaptable person as a quarterback of this group. And why do I say that? Because of the fact that he played in multiple systems. In fact, I think he played in 3, if I'm not mistaken. So when he came to the NFL, he was most ready to adapt, which is something else we probably should discuss. But definitely so far doing really well. Matthew Stafford, one of the few guys I've seen that's been in a horrible situation all the way up until this point in his career and has played really well. Andrew Luck was in a great situation. Even though the team wasn't good in the beginning, but then he started to get killed, physically because of line situation being bad and struggled. I mean, even though he is one of the elite. So these last few guys are elite. Like Stafford's elite. Baker Mayfield's on his way to being elite. Andrew Luck. Goff, I don't know if I agree with him being as high on this list, but he's done well. We'll see how he does in his new situation. I think it could be an issue. He was in a great situation. Deshaun Watson was in a decent situation starting when he had Bill O'Brien and everything, and then it went south. Jury remains out. I think he's a very good player. Patrick Mahomes, obviously not just a steal. I mean, he's in the 3rd round. He doesn't belong, but he's probably the top quarterback in the league. Cam Newton started out great. Not elite anymore. So there you go. There's a bunch of quarterbacks that were early picks. And what their situation was. Now, I thought Mahomes was 2nd round. I don't remember. I thought he was a little later, but I could be wrong. Or maybe he was late first. Yeah, maybe he was late first. So it's important that the situation these quarterbacks in, those top 7 guys, 5 of those 7 are on their way to being elite. I mean, we're talking 20 plus guys that didn't get there. Like, when are we going to start to figure out what we could do to make these guys all elite? Because now you have as a have and have not. You have Tom Brady, who is way better as far as between here than anybody else in the league, and his mindset and how he develops. You're talking a situation where nobody else can do those kind of things. And how does that begin to adapt at the NFL level? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Definitely reach out to me. I'd love to know what you think is the issue with the quarterbacks. If you get a chance, like and subscribe down below. This is Football in the Kitchen Sink. Big Mondays. Missing my co-host. I must burn through co-hosts. I don't know what that is, but I guess consistency. Remember, my man Real Andrews talked about it yesterday. I wrote something in there about consistency, and I think that that's the key. Now let's get a little March Madness here, okay? Because I want to talk basketball, and I think basketball is in college level has become really interesting. What do we have left here? We are down to UCLA, Michigan, the 11 seed, UCLA, Michigan, the 1 seed, USC, Gonzaga, 6-1, Arkansas, Baylor, 3-1, Oregon State, the 12, who beat Loyola, mind you, 65-58, and Houston are the final groups. So of this, you got Michigan's a 1, Gonzaga's a 1, Baylor's a 1. So 3 of the 4 ones made it through. Illinois was upset by Loyola. Houston obviously is the 2. Then you have a 11 seed, a 6 seed, a 3, which kind of is pretty accurate there, and then the 12 seed, who along the way Oregon State beat Tennessee, who's a 5. Oklahoma State is a 4. Loyola, Illinois is an 8. And I heard Charles Barkley say this yesterday. Okay, with respect to NCAA basketball, these 5-star recruits, first of all, the one and done killed the elite players at the college level, no doubt about it. Has crushed it. Okay, the one and done has crushed it. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of get a little. Yeah, the one and done is crushed. So the one and done is crushed it. College basketball. Number 2, how teams have adapted to COVID and the way their coaches approached it and what the school system did as far as worrying about it. That's a huge issue to the success of these teams. And I think it opened the door for a lot of underdogs to be able to have an opportunity if they had some exceptional coaches but may not have the big-time players. They definitely took advantage of the fact that they developed their guys to give them a chance. The other question is the talent much more spread out? I saw, and this is an interesting thing, and I want to get this for my son. I think this is so cool. It's called Dr. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. And by the way, I have no association with it, but I've seen it when I was at Red Bank. The basketball team using it, and now I don't know if it's helped them that much, but I think it's much better if you have this as at home, right? Okay, so let me just find some videos on this because this is great. Okay, it's a thing. That's not the one I wanted. Let me see if I can find this here. The one that's really. Let's get a video on here. Let me see this thing here. Well, it shouldn't be this hard, but it's called Dr. Dish. Okay, and this thing is amazing. I want you to see this. This thing is absolutely amazing. And let's see if this is it here. Okay, this is one version of it. So let's pull this up. This is amazing. So Dr. Dish, okay, which is a basically a little robot that shoots the balls out to you instead of having a person that feeds it out to you, puts it wherever you want. And then also they have an app that tracks all your shooting. This is where everything is going. Okay. This is where everything is going. Metrics across the board. It's about reps. And all this thing does is just shooting out, and you can do whatever you want, and you're going to get reps after reps after reps after reps. Many years ago, there was a coach with DJ Nymphius, and one of the things first thing he emphasized to me, and I kind of knew it already then, but always emphasizes, repetition is the key to success. If you can, and repping it good, but not stopping every single time to explain something, but quick explanation and lots of reps. The more reps you get on something, the better you're gonna get. It's simply that. It's that simple. And So this Dr. Dish in what you see going on in college now is everybody shoots from the three. So this can get you so many more reps at home, in the gym, and the amount of reps that they're getting and shooting the three, these guys are basically taking 3 steps across court, shooting a three and draining. You saw it with Buddy Boeheim. You saw it with what was the team? Oh, who was the top scorer? Oral Roberts. And these guys are lower rated recruits, 2-star, 3-star recruits that are as good as these 5-star guys. And simply because if you're within the talent range, and so many of the one and done guys are out of there into the NFL, that you have an opportunity to really do good in college. So that's why you see these lesser known teams being able to compete. It's made obviously the tournament interesting from a betting standpoint. I'm sure people love it from a betting standpoint because it creates all kinds of wild card scenarios where a couple people can get some lucky bets in. Actually, if you do some crazy scenarios, you do yourself about 30 different wild brackets, you might have a chance there. But that's how you're able to compete on reps. So what's it allowed is if everybody has within a range of a certain level of athletic ability, the difference between here's the difference, and this is football too. The difference between a 5-star and a 3-star, and I don't even 2-star. I don't, 2 stars guys don't even know about with potential. Okay, so they don't even want to rate those guys. They just don't know anything about them. There's a couple of whole things. So if you played in AAU or in football, you play in the 7-7 system or camp system, you're going to have a higher opportunity to become a higher rated guy if you do really well and you have all the measurables. In basketball, it's if you do really well and you have the measurables, height for your position and all those kind of things, you go and get these high ratings. Okay. What do these high ratings predict about you in the future? It only predicts one thing: upside potential. It has nothing to do with what's between the years. Star rating only predicts upside potential. It does not predict what actually is going to happen. This is one of the biggest mistakes of basketball, football, and everybody. Like, they just think because they got themselves a 5-star, it only predicts upside potential and is based purely off of certain measurables. Now, what's interesting with stuff like Catapult, okay, that gives you different measurables that may be more applicable to now basketball is different because you got to be able to shoot, and that's why Dr. Dish and those kind of things, you could see the accuracy of somebody's shooting and measure how accurate they are, and then you could put somebody in front of them and measure how accurate they are. You could take all their shots in the game. Like, you should be able to get those metrics in basketball and be able to see how they play. So let's just take the high school basketball season, not even take AAU. But if an AAU team did this, they would really have. If you tracked some top players' shots and saw how they did against certain competition, height range, athleticism, the guy they're playing against, you'll be able to more accurately measure kind of a prediction of what they're going to be. And that's what Catapult's going to allow you to do. That's what tools like Dr. Dish in practice allow you to do. And when you start put people involved in it, you start to measure speed and different kind of attributes. And these metrics are going to give you the ability to measure someone's athleticism and their speed in competition, which is a huge, huge, huge component. Speed in competition. So in basketball, you have a lot of this because guys play in the AAU circuit. Someone may play in a nat going all over the place and play in a national circuit, and some guy may only play locally, okay, or within his few state area. And one guy could be a 5-star, another guy could be 2-star, and doesn't mean that their ability is any different. Okay. It's a really important component. Same thing's going on in football because some guys playing this national team. I actually think that competition in a lot of these 7-on-7 tournaments is better locally. Okay. Because some of these national tournaments are about who can get people to pay to be able to go to those tournaments. Okay. And I've just seen it, like teams that have won my tournaments that are tri-state area, beat some of these teams that win national level tournaments. Why is that? Well, I think a big component is convenience, especially with the pandemic. Like, convenience is a big thing. Being able to compete locally as much as you can. Again, it's about reps. How many reps are you going to be able to get, and how much better you can get? Those are key things. So that's what's really interesting about metrics, with March Madness and with college football, college basketball, you'll continue to see a flattening of the talent level, because the change in recruiting with virtual recruiting, the change in recruiting with who gets on campus, the change with the pandemic, you're going to see a flattening and the ability for some of the lesser teams you're seeing in football, but it just really has, and scholarships and who comes back and who doesn't come back. You're seeing an opportunity for some of the second tier, quote unquote, schools to be able to have an opportunity there. So it's really, really interesting stuff. Thank you for being on with me today. We recapped a bunch of different things, talked a little NFL draft with the quarterbacks, talked a little March Madness, and talked some analytics. Look forward to seeing you soon again on the Football in the Kitchen Sink. Till next time. Big Monday.